Hi everyone, welcome back to LL Sports TV. This weekend, Sunday the 27th of October, Arsenal take on Liverpool with what is an absolutely massive game. Definitely one of the biggest Premier League games of the season so far. Arsenal third in the table, Liverpool currently top of the table. Joining me to discuss this game is my man, my frenemy, Drifty in the building from Coppish TV. What are you saying, bro?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Pleasure to be here, bro. The anticipation is building right now. Do you know what I mean? So
It
let's
is,
do this,
man.
man.
It
Let's
is.
do
And
this.
of course, we both had games in the Champions League. We both had wins, but I think it's fair to say that yours was probably more impressive than ours. Would you reckon to
Yeah,
that?
yeah. You lot's game was a little bit weird in midweek, weren't it? It was a bit of a weird one. I don't know.
I've got to say, our last two performances have not been the best. I mean, obviously,
Mm.
we lost to Bournemouth last weekend, 2-0. Deservedly so, to be honest. I thought the guys were a bit complacent, and I think we paid the price. Obviously, there was a sending off as well. That didn't help matters, but we wasn't at our best in any event. So no real excuses there. Slight improvement against Shakhtar in the week, beat them 1-0, but it wasn't utterly convincing. What was your game like? Your Champions League game?
It was really weird, bro. It was almost like we didn't get out of second gear. And I get the feeling that Arsenal was in the back of everyone's mind. So it was like, let's just get through this game unscathed, and then we go for the big one. Because with us winning our first two games, this game wasn't as big of a deal for us in terms of the result. I went back and forward with a few Liverpool fans leading up because obviously, fans want to win every game. And you do want to win every game, but I was saying to everyone, I'm all right with a draw in this Champions League game and then get onto the Arsenal game because the Arsenal game's the one that means more. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like,
Yeah.
there's another 5 games left in the Champions League. We've got
Mm.
Girona, we've got Lille, we've got PSV. If we got aspirations to win the Champions League, you got to take 9 points from those 3 games, right? And then if we win those 3 games, 5 wins gets you through in the way this new format is. So
Yeah.
I was looking at it like, even if we draw this game against Leipzig, it's all about the Arsenal game. But thankfully, we did get the win. We controlled the game without exerting ourselves, which was nice to see as well. So take another winning game into the weekend, which obviously momentum's good in terms of wins, which is why I think
Yeah.
your win was important because I think doubt could have really started to creep in if you'd have dropped points in that last 15 minutes when it looked like you might, when they started to put a bit of pressure on you. And you know what I mean? Like, for example, that header right at the end when it hit his shoulder,
That's
if
right.
he gets the
Yeah.
real contact and that goes in and the game ends 1-1, all of a sudden your mentality could be totally fragile from like, oh my God, again, we've done this again. But you got the win. So I think that was important for you. Look.
Absolutely. So let's talk about it, man. Big game this weekend. And what I would say about those Champions League games, although it's nice to get the win and get those out the way, it doesn't really mean too much in the wider scheme of things. So in other words, what I'm saying is the results against those respective teams, us, Shakhtar, you, Leipzig, I don't think that's really going to make much of a difference come Sunday afternoon when
No.
we take on each other. I just want to ask, man, how confident are you going into this game?
I'm always apprehensive about a trip to the Emirates because we draw there a lot. And obviously you lot are way better now than you used to be. I can't keep thinking about the days when Klopp just dominated Arsenal. It's not that anymore. Do you know what I mean? So I'm always going to be a bit apprehensive, a little bit anxious, but I'm quietly confident because of the form we're in and the form you're in. And maybe not even so much form, because in terms of results, you're getting the results, you're doing well. But I'm looking at the way you're playing and it looks very disjointed in attack. Like, you've always got the stability of the defense, but the attack looks very disjointed. So I'm quietly confident, if that makes sense. But I'm always going to be apprehensive about a trip to the Emirates. I was apprehensive about going to Old Trafford, and look how bad Man United are.
Spoken as a true football fan. No, but
You
no,
know
you
what
know
I
what?
mean?
I hear that, man, because you're right. We've only lost 1 game this season, and some of the Arsenal fans are tearing their hair out at the performances, especially the last couple, where we have not looked that good. And indeed, I did a video addressing some of those fans, saying, "Listen, man, calm the fuck down. We've had 8 games in the Premier League so far, 5, 2, and 1. We've lost just the 1. We've drawn with Man City, even though we're down to 10 men. So, you know what I mean? Come on now. let's not be too gloomy about it. But listen, I could see why you guys might be a little bit confident. But that being said, if you look at the fixture last year, we did beat you 3-1, Drifty. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I
And
hear
we
you. I
also,
mean, I do
of
think
you at
that
your
game
place.
was that. I think that game, even though you were really, really good in the first half of that game, which I won't try and take away from you or be disingenuous about, it was 1-1 still at half time.
Yeah.
And I do believe if the most uncharacteristic brain fart ever doesn't happen between Alisson and Virgil for you to get the goal, the 2-1 goal that put you in the lead, the Martinelli goal, I think that game would have finished 1-1. And I know that's a lot of ifs and buts,
Yeah,
but we
that's
seemed in that second half, we were coming back into the game a bit. And then that mistake just gave you all the confidence back, and we just went. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of ifs and buts, but I do think in the second half we were doing okay until that mistake. So yeah, in the end, it looked embarrassing. 3-1. You never want to lose 3-1. Do you know what I mean? But hopefully we can more emulate what we did in the FA Cup a few weeks before that.
I knew you were going to bring that. I was waiting
because a lot of Arsenal fans want to act like the FA Cup game didn't happen.
I was sitting there, and I was thinking, right, how come he's not mentioning the FA Cup yet? I knew that was coming. But listen, the games between our two teams are always good games. They're always ebb and flow. There's always goals, or so it seems. Oh, listen, man, the one thing I am confident is it's going to be a very good game. I'm really looking forward to it, actually, because as I was hinting at before, Champions League games and Premier League games, especially when two titans go at it like we do, it's going to be different. Let me just ask you quickly, Arne Slot, coming to the Premier League, relative unknown, taking over from Jurgen Klopp, let's face it, is a managerial legend in the Premier League. How do you think he's settled in? What are you making of the team under Arne Slot compared to Jurgen Klopp?
The biggest compliment I can pay to Slot at this moment is, apart from the general emotional connection that I had to Klopp, I haven't missed him. And that's the biggest compliment that I can pay to Slot, because I'm not spending any time thinking, why isn't Klopp here? I'm just like, well, I'm enjoying this. I like what I'm seeing. So you have to give him credit. When we first heard the news, like my initial 24 hours after hearing it was like, are you kidding me? Is this FSG? You're going to replace Klopp with who? Yeah. But you have to do your due diligence and you have to take your emotion out of it. So I did that. I went and did research on the man. I looked up everything, and he's a class act. And within a couple of days, I was excited about the appointment, even though the first day made me think, what the hell are we doing? And he's kind of doing what I anticipated he would, playing a similar style, but just with a few tweaks. And
tell us about the tweaks, because I'm interested to learn about, because we all know Klopp, high intensity, high press, all or nothing kind of thing, throw the book at it. Slot, the reputation with him was it was a little bit more possession based than Klopp would have been. Are you noticing that, or what have you noticed?
The funny thing is, the last 2 seasons under Klopp, we did become possession based, but we didn't quite mix the blend of high intensity and possession as well as maybe we could have, because I don't think the players were good enough. And obviously, I'm never ever going to say anything negative about Klopp, but if I'm being honest with you, I don't think the recruitment quite enabled him to do what he wanted to do, because the way Klopp wants to play needs a very specific style of player. And when he had the Manes and the Firminos, it just clicked and it was just there and it was beautiful. When he tried to reinvent that with the Nunez's and the Diaz's, they weren't quite capable of doing what we wanted to do before. So we weren't winning the ball as high up the field to have that quick turnaround, that counter press, being on goal, and score 2 goals in 4 minutes before a team even knows what's happened. That's what we used to do under Klopp a lot. So what we've done now under Slot is we sit a little bit further back. We're not as high with our line in terms of defensively. He's playing more 2 in a pivot rather than 3 in the midfield, although he's changing it around. And he's not as upset with the opposition having the ball as Klopp used to be. Sometimes he's Slot's a bit like, let them have it. Let's see what they can do with it. Whereas Klopp used to be like, no, get the ball back as quick as possible. Do you know what I mean? And we'd get caught out on transition quite a bit, trying to win the ball back immediately. Long ball over the top, and all of a sudden they're in on our defense. And we're like, now Slot's a bit more like, no, let them have it for a minute then. and then all of a sudden we'll do the press and we'll win it back. So there's about 80% similarities, but that little 20% I think teams are struggling with, and I think we're enjoying it from our point of view because it's making it a little less stressful. The games aren't as gung ho, and we don't have that like overwhelming exhaustion as fans watching. Because under Klopp, it was whether it was for excitement or for anger, you're exhausted at the end of every game. You're
Yeah,
like flipping
absolutely.
hell, you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
Whereas
yeah.
now you feel some of the games. I'm like, I see the board go up for 4 minutes, and I'm like, I want another 15. I'm enjoying this. Do you know what I mean?
Wow.
Like, do you know what I
Wow.
mean? So yeah, it's a
Who's
beautiful
flourishing
transition.
under this new system now? I've heard Curtis Jones saying he's never enjoyed his football more than he is now, and he got a bit of stick for that. But as a fan, I mean, you watch them week in, week out. Maybe you can tell us which players are flourishing under this system that Arne Slot's introduced.
I think the players who look at the moment to be benefiting the most will be Jones, Diaz, and Gravenberch. Those are the
Yeah,
three who seem to be, because I think Diaz, and I mean, he's really good at it, especially, you know what South Americans are like, they're full of energy. But I think the high pressing that he used to have to do under Klopp made him a little bit tired in games, and he
right.
had less energy to do what he's good at, which is taking players on and stuff like that. He wasted a lot of energy doing that under Klopp. So I think he's benefiting from that now. Gravenberch, it could be a combination of it is his second year, so he's settled now as well, because he was a 21-year-old in a new league coming off the back of not playing any football for Bayern Munich. So maybe it was a bit much to ask of him for him to be good last season. But he's definitely benefiting in a pivot, which he played at Ajax. So he's playing in a system that he was more used to, which made him who he became, what got him his move to Bayern in the first place. And yeah, I just like, I mean, Nunes, he's been in personal training with Heitinger. He hasn't even trained with the first team every time. Sometimes he goes away with Heitinger and does one-on-one because Heitinger is teaching him to reinvent his game. So it's not just all about running off the shoulder of the last man. And he does seem to be linking up play better. He seems to be causing more problems in terms of his physicality. So yeah, there's a few. I mean, Virgil and Ibu playing 5-10 yards deeper, naturally, they're superstars anyway. So I think if you give less pitch to run in behind, how do you really get past them? They're so good. I
Yeah.
think our weakness was playing so high up the field and then constantly having to keep making runs back and runs back and runs back. So yeah, I don't want to get too carried away because it could be the honeymoon period, but it does feel very, very controlled at the moment. And I think that's what I'm enjoying more than anything.
Yeah, you know what? That is a good description of it, because I do definitely think that Liverpool are a bit more controlled this season. They were at times a bit gung-ho under Klopp, and like you said, it was very entertaining, very watchable. But I think, yeah, you've retained the elements of the high intensity and the pressing and being exciting going forward, but you've also got that bit more control. That being said, I do think you are a better side going forward than you are defensively. And from an Arsenal fan, that does give me some confidence. So
Okay.
in other words, you could look at the Liverpool team and you see guys like Van Dijk and Konate and people like that and Trent and think, oh, but I do think you can be touched. You know what I mean? Forest touched. Chelsea
Yeah,
were in
yeah,
the game as well. You know what I mean? You can be
yeah.
touched.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can be
yeah,
touched.
yeah. You know, we haven't quite perfected it just yet. I think what that has a lot to do, and this is a big difference actually between Klopp and Slot. Klopp made sure someone was in there destroying, whereas Slot seems a bit more like, I'd rather have control. So if we sacrifice a bit of that defensive acumen to do so, then so be it. So Gravenberch and McAllister are exceptional on the ball, and their ball retention and their interceptions is unbelievable. But none of them live for tackling. Do you get what I mean? So
Right.
you
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
get past
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Now, I think
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, McAllister's been dribbled past more than anyone in the Premier League this season.
Wow.
I don't know if that's by design or by flaw, but it is something where you think, oh, if an Odegaard was playing, I'd be like, you know what I mean? Is it going to be? But hopefully with him not being there, it might be easier to cope with that half space that Odegaard normally picks up.
And therein lies the issue, Drifty, because from an Arsenal perspective, we are missing Odegaard badly. I mean, the first couple of games, you didn't notice it too much. But as the weeks have gone on and everyone's commenting on Arsenal's so-called lack of creativity and lack of cutting edge, you suddenly realise that Odegaard. I mean, I love Odegaard as a player. Not only is he the captain, but I also call him one of our talisman because he does so much, man. He leads the press. He's outstanding ability in and around the box, and he can get goals as well. But he's crucial to the way Arsenal play, and I do think over the last couple of weeks we are missing it. So we need him back as soon as possible. The problem is, though, I doubt very much whether he's going to be back on Sunday. And added to that, there's doubts about Saka. So
I've heard differently though, bro. I've heard the rumors are just all mind games from Arteta.
Yeah, listen, you often get that. Listen, I'm hope that Saka plays. I absolutely hope that he plays for obvious reasons. I mean, you've only got to look at the numbers that the guy posts, even when he's not playing particularly well in terms of, you know, the 90 minutes. He always pops up with moments, whether it's assisting or scoring. So
are you willing to risk
it that he plays? Sorry?
Are you willing to risk him? Let's say, for example, he's 90% fit. And obviously you see the importance of the game. Do you think it could still be a risk because the rest of the season is still here? And if he tears his hamstring again, because we did this with Salah, bro. We brought him back last season and we thought it was all right. He played, but then he pulled it and then he was missing for 6 weeks after that.
Yeah.
So you've got Chelsea, you've got Newcastle, obviously the Champions League. Would you prefer to just play this game without him and he's cool for them, or would you risk him for this one?
It's an excellent question. Listen, I'd love him to play, but that being said, if it's going to mean, I mean, hamstring is such a sensitive issue, you cannot risk him if he's not fully fit, really, because like you said, Drifty, after your game, we've got 2 difficult away games back to back, Newcastle and then Chelsea. And Chelsea are playing well this season. Newcastle are always going to be a difficult opponent, especially at their place. So, yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't think we can, unless he's right, and the medical staff will no doubt assess him and consult with the manager. But I wouldn't want to see him risked if he's less than, say, 95%, because, you know, it's too much of a risk. The season's a long season. I mean, Sunday's game will be the 9th game of a 38 season. So that's 25% of the season. If he goes in there, especially in a high intensity game like that, and then gets injured and he's out for 3-4 more weeks, it just disrupts everything. So yeah, you make a good point. And we are struggling with injuries. Timber's carrying an injury. Odegaard, we spoke about. Saka, Calafiori.
I've heard Timber's fine as well, though, bro. I heard it's just mind games from Arteta with.
Well, I know Arteta likes to engage in the mind games, but listen, I trust them to get it right. But if I see Saka out there on Sunday, then I will be thinking to myself, yes, I think that he's fit enough to play. Likewise with Timber. Calafiori, we're still not sure. There's a school of thought.
Was it his knee or his groin, Calafiori?
Yeah, he had an awkward fall.
So
we're in a bit of a difficult situation at Arsenal at the moment because we're not playing that well, if I'm being honest. We're winning games, and that's a testimony to the team's resilience and heart and all the rest of it. But the form is not great. You know what I mean? We're not our usual free-flowing self. So and that's why this game is a bit of a conundrum for me, because although I would know, listen, I'm going to keep it 100 here. If we put in our strongest team and you're putting out your strongest team, given the fact that we're at home and we've done well against you at home in the last couple of seasons, I'd actually be full of confidence. But the fact that we've got injuries, we're not quite hit the straps yet. I must admit, man, this game is I'm quite how can I put it? I wouldn't say fearful, but you know what I'm saying. I've got,
you probably
I would be lying
to
sit here and say that I'm overwhelmingly confident.
You probably feel how I feel if the reverses were flipped. So if we're at home right now for this game with the same scenario, I'd be just grinning ear to ear. I'd be like, come on, man. Do you know what I mean? Like, how do we not win this? But my trepidation
we took points off you last season at your place.
No, but you were better than us at that stage of the season. Do you remember? Right. So, like, I was worried about that game because going into that game at Anfield, I was like, Arsenal playing better than us. So this one's a bit of a... But because we're the ones playing better now, I'd be way more confident. But I would be trying to make sure I wasn't going too far with my confidence because you never know, innit? But whereas with the Emirates, I'm like, but they're at home, and home advantage is always a key
Yeah, it
help
can be. And the fan,
in these
trust me,
clashes.
well, you know this anyway. The fans will be mega up for it. The other thing I
Mm,
should have spoken about, was remiss of me not to mention, William Saliba foolishly got himself sent off last week against Bournemouth. For
yeah.
me, yeah, he was at fault. He didn't need to do that. But anyway, the upshot of that is he's going to miss this game. And when you take into account the other injuries we got, that is a big miss, because William Saliba, for me, I know you're a Van Dijk man, you know what I mean?
Mm,
But I always say to people that Saliba is what Van Dijk used to be. And I'm being a little bit churlish when I say that, because I rate Van Dijk highly. But you know what I'm saying? He is
mm,
that integral to Arsenal. He's a big part of what we do defensively. He played every game last season. He was outstanding. He's broken into the French squad. This guy's a player. And to not have him for this
mm.
weekend is another small doubt in my mind, because I've got to be honest, man, the backup guys are not in the same league as him. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I
Well,
don't know quite
Calafiori
what
will
the
be
man.
the miss though, bro, won't it? Because you would have just put
Yeah.
Calafiori there, but if
Well,
he's
this is
injured
it.
now,
But then if he's
then
not
yeah,
available either,
yeah.
then we're
And
gonna
left
have
back,
to.
I mean, let's just go on the premise that Timber doesn't make it. Is it Zinchenko or is it Kivior that plays left back?
Perish the thought.
Do you
No,
know
no
what I mean? I
disrespect
forget
to them, man.
Salah.
There,
Like, I
I
don't
think
know.
I'd probably go with Zinchenko on
Oh,
account of his
Salah loves playing
experience.
against Zinchenko though, bro.
Yeah,
Salah
well,
loves playing
that was
against
pointed out to
Zinchenko.
me earlier today with that raw pace that he's got. My man will have to drop way deep
Yeah.
because
Is Kivior not more sensible in terms of like he's just steady? Like, whereas Zinchenko's got those bozo moments in it where he'll lose
yeah, that's true.
concentration. At least Kivior doesn't do that. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know. You
So,
say that, man, but did you see the bozo moment against Bournemouth?
oh yeah, yeah,
Man.
yeah.
So you know what I mean? Kivior, I've got to be honest, bro. I'm not all the way convinced about him. I know he's not
Mm,
played that much football, and it's very difficult. You will know this, to guys coming off the bench and trying to fill in and be up to the optimum levels. It is difficult, but I'm not all the way convinced with Kivior. I think if it was down to me, and I was given the option between those two, I'd probably go on Zinchenko for his experience, and he's a better baller, so he can help create stuff further up the
mm.
pitch. Because we
Yeah,
do
I
need
hear
to
you.
score. We do need to win this game, man. I mean, the problem with the Bournemouth defeat is it's now put more pressure on Arsenal for this game. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So
yeah,
because
I agree. I
that
agree
was
because I've
Paul's
been saying
drop.
to everyone, for me, it's Liverpool or Arsenal's title this season, and that's not
Oh, you
taking
reckon?
anything
Right.
away. Yeah, that's not trying to be disrespectful to City in any way. I just think City don't look right, and unless they change something in January with some signings, they can't keep these last-minute winners going and relying on Haaland. So I think it's out of us two. So my thing is leave the Emirates without a loss, and we're
Oh, so you'll
coasting.
take a draw, right? That's
Oh, and
interesting.
still be 4 points ahead of Arsenal.
Yeah,
100%,
that
bro.
actually you make a good point.
100%.
Whereas we need to win it. That's
Yeah,
the
because
thing.
you've got to pull it back because you still got to
Yeah.
come to Anfield. So if Liverpool escape without losing, perfect result. A win is obviously beautiful. But as long
Mm.
as we can escape without a loss, great result. Great result. I'll go to the Emirates, come away with a 2-2 draw, stay 4 points ahead. And then, yeah, I'll be very happy with that. I'll be over the moon with a win. 7 points might be a bit much for you to catch up even at an early
Well,
stage. You know what I
this is
mean?
it.
Like
This is it.
that's a big. And then you got to go to Chelsea and Newcastle. You could drop more points there, and then
Yeah.
it could
Yeah.
get tricky. I mean, we got Brighton and Villa, so it's not easy for us either. So the Premier
Yeah.
League's just crazy right now. You
It
just
is,
never
man.
know. You just really don't.
And no disrespects, but we dropped points to Brighton as well. We got a man sent off in that game. Declan
Mm,
Rice sent off again foolishly. I know the fans have been, you know what I mean, unhappy, consistency and so forth. But at the end of the day, it was an error on his part that got himself sent off. We dropped
mm,
points in that game. So you think about it, bro. No disrespect. We dropped points to Brighton and Bournemouth,
yeah.
games that we should be expected to win. And if you look at the points
Mm,
differential between us and City last year, it was 2 points. So when you're dropping points like this, man, it does, you know what I mean? At the end of the season, when when everything's totted up, you look back on these things and you think, rah, man,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
I,
But
I,
anyway,
I'm
yeah,
I'm
go
I'm
on.
just glad that all of you guys get to experience the exhaustion that we've been through trying to face City, where you're like, you draw a game against Brighton and you feel like your world's over, and it's like it shouldn't really be that big of a deal. But you're like, no, you can't drop any points at any time. It's
and
exhausting.
it's contradictory in it, because we say to ourselves things, oh, it's a long season, it's a marathon, not a sprint. But then when you drop points like we did last week, you're thinking, yo, those 2 points that we dropped, or 3 points in last week's game,
it's mentally
that
exhausting.
could be the difference come May next year. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, we got to wrap up. As much as I love talking to you, I could go on all day chatting to you, Drifty. You know that. But you got people watching this and wondering about predictions and so forth. So I don't know if I should go first or you should go first. I'm the home team and you're my guest, so I'm going to go first, and I'm going to say that despite our lack of stellar form at the moment, despite the injuries that we're carrying. And again, I don't want to come on here and say this person's definitely not playing up, because like you said, there's a lot of stuff going on. We don't know yet. There's still a couple more days to go. But I think we can eke out a win. And the reason why I say that we can eke out a win, I think it's going to be a mad atmosphere on Sunday. Despite some of the negativity that's been expressed in the lead up to the game, I do think that come Sunday, the fans are going to rally behind the team. And I think that we will have enough. We've got a decent squad. We've got some good players, some good young talent. Ranieri, man like that might come in. And I think that will get us over the line. I think it will be a hotly contested game. I do think you guys will score. But you know what? I'm going for a 2-1 Arsenal win. Yeah, 2-1.
Yeah, I understand. And I'm literally flipping it the exact way in the same sentiment. I'm never going to be overly confident. I definitely think you'll score. You're the home team. So I definitely think you'll score. Probably will be like a set piece or a counter attack. And I'm going to keep the positivity flowing, though. I think we'll sneak it 2-1. I think we'll sneak it 2-1. If you guys
listen, I can see why you would feel that way, because listen, we're up against it. You guys are playing well. Okay, you had that setback against Forest, but apart from that, the games that I've seen you play, you have looked pretty impressive. I can't lie. And then you got the personnel. We know you got the players.
And Slot hasn't stopped talking about that defeat to Forest. He's livid.
Yeah. Listen, when I heard about that, that day, I had to look at the TV screen twice to, and that was at home as well, right?
Yeah. Every pass we made was just wrong. It was the weirdest game ever, but it was back off the international break. And that was why I was
No, don't come down. Don't stop.
No, honestly. I think that's what it was. I genuinely
because when we lost to Bournemouth and I was saying about international break and Saliba getting sent off, man was like, no, man, no excuses. You lost.
No, I wouldn't have said that.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
I think it was Saliba why you lost. It was the red card, isn't it? You lost because of the red card.
That was instrumental. But I'm gonna say, and I've said this openly over the past week, I was at the game, Drifty, and to me, I detected an air of complacency among the players. In fact, and I'm not speaking after the event, Robbie stood next to me, and I said, "Them man, when they were doing the warm up, when the players are doing the warm up and that, I saw a lot of smiling and a lot of jokes, and I just picked up that air. I mean, there's a thin line between confidence and overconfidence. The players look very confident; they look relaxed, and I'm saying maybe they were too relaxed, because even amongst the fans before the game, when we were talking about the game, when we all met up just inside the ground, we hadn't taken up our seats yet, but we was just inside the forecourt or wherever it is. And we were talking, you chatting to the fans, and man was saying, 3-0s, 4-0s, and you know what I mean? Because we smoked them 4-0 last season. So it was that type of game where everyone just turned up. It was a nice day, and everyone was like, yeah, man, easy work, light work, 3-0, 4-0. And I'm wondering whether some of the players had that same kind of energy about them, as if to say, yeah, man, it's about how much we're going to get today rather than we're going to win. And we paid the price. But yeah, to circle back to today, I honestly think that despite we've got some issues at the moment, like I said, injuries, the form's not been great, lack of cutting edge, but I still think we have enough good players, I've got enough energy, enough wherewithal. I mean, the manager said it during the week. He said, don't worry about Bournemouth and Shakhtar. It'd be a completely different game against Liverpool. And I do believe that. And I think on the basis of that energy, I think we'll eke out a 2-1. You're going 2-1 the other way, which I perfectly understand. I was interested to note that you take a draw. And I guess I would take a draw, but I think a draw would still be a disappointing result for us, if you know what I mean, rather than...
Yeah, it'd be worse for you than it would be for us.
Yeah,
definitely. But it wouldn't be a bad result either way. So I'm
Yeah. But
intrigued, man.
the one thing I can predict with a reasonable degree of confidence is it will be a good game, because Arsenal, Liverpool, Arsenal always seem to be good games for me.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever had a boring game. I
Not that I
don't
can
ever
remember.
remember a boring game between
Yeah.
Liverpool and Arsenal. Never.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think yeah, it's gonna be. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it, man.
Myself too, bro. And listen, man, it's a pleasure chatting to you today. We
Yeah,
must
man.
talk
Pleasure
again,
being on, man.
both
Yeah, man.
on and off camera. So keep
Yeah,
in
man.
touch. To the people out there watching, thank you very much for watching and supporting the channel, LL Sports TV. Please like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends, man. We're coming up to nearly 1,000 subscribers at the moment. Let's hope that this stream can take it over that and you continue
Yeah,
to
man.
support. I really
Definitely.
appreciate it. Drifty, thanks once again. All the Arsenal
Pleasure,
fans
bro.
out there, man, keep it locked and loaded. We're coming. See you guys soon. Take care.